While everyone is trash-talking the Australian Office, I decided not to follow that trend and punch down a little bit further by attacking a low-budget Australian kids show. Are You Tougher Than Your Ancestors is a show that puts half-baked white children through half-baked challenges that kind of resemble an event that some dickhead went through about 100 years ago. The end result is an attempt to shake the confidence out of these little shits, so at the end of each episode they go, "I'm so glad I was born back then," thus proving that older generations had it harder. But the show hopes to impart some of the skills of these ancestors onto these children's, which they'll undoubtedly use in 30 years' time when the great climate change famine forces them to become murderous cannibals. Meet Gracie and Mikey. Kids so sheltered they have no idea how to interact with a person who isn't white.
What's up, G?
Mikey.
What's up, G?
So head over that way and we'll get you ready.
Alright, see you, G. See ya.
Cheers. Yeah, nice.
Haha, these kids have never felt whiter. Although, to be fair, they do come from Leongatha, a town with about as much diversity as an all-pink Starburst bag. It's like one of those towns that only has like one Chinese restaurant, and then when you go in there, you can't help but notice that all the staff are white, and you're just like, where in the IGA hell did these frozen dumplings come from? So the task that this show has set for these two little modern-day brittle-boned children is to follow in the footsteps of Lenny Guata, a local legend who apparently rode on horseback from Melbourne to Sydney when he was only 9 years old, back in the year 1932. Well, let's just hope there's not an episode where these kids have to follow in the footsteps of another well-known historical figure from the 1930s. I know when they say ancestor, like the definition of ancestor, it could be anyone older than a grandparent, but when I saw the title, like, Are You Tougher Than Your Ancestors, I was thinking something a little bit more simian-ish. You know that picture of the evolution of humans, and there's like the little like the frog boy that goes into like a little goblin man, and then there's like the monkey man. Like, I was thinking that guy, the monkey man. Not like within the past 100 years. I mean, they interview Lenny's sister who's still alive. No disrespect to my boy Lenny, like he did something that no other 9-year-old could do. But I was hoping that these children were going to have to wrestle an elephant covered in fake mammoth hair or live out in the elements and have to start a fire and murder some children from an opposing tribe. Okay, now on to Gracie and Mikey. Now, it cannot be stated enough that these children really love horses. I mean, like, they really love horses.
There's never-ending stuff that you can do with horses. You can braid their mane, plait, show jump, cross country, just endless opportunities with them.
You can do anything with horses. I mean, you can ride them. You can ride them slightly differently. Really, the possibilities are endless. Now, for the most part, this show is incredibly lame. I mean, the challenge itself is but a mere reflection of the actual event that took place. For instance, like, Lenny rode, obviously, from Melbourne to Sydney. That took like 4 months or something. I don't know, I wasn't listening. But the children's only have to go for a 2-day horse ride.
So Lenny was just on his own. At least we got each other.
And we don't even get to see it. Like, you basically see them start the journey, and then it just cuts away to the end of the journey.
The kids travelled 12 kilometres and have finally made it to where they're staying.
I don't even think they left the town. I want to see these damn children be forced to turn to cannibalism when the food supply got low, damn it! Actually, no, about halfway through the journey, they do show them rocking up to some wench's house who looks like she would rather be anywhere else but here. Hey, lady, you're on national TV. You might want to liven up a little bit. But once again, it just cuts away to the next day where we have these two little shits having the most riveting conversation ever.
How's your sleep last night? Good, how was yours? Yeah, good.
I tell you can do anything with horses. Spoiler alert, but most of the episode is them just doing horse tricks in a paddock.
Okay, let's get this show on the road and get out and perform.
Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool.
Hey, you think that's going to be boring? Or wait till you see the tricks.
One of them?
Yeah, well done.
Yes, the great Lenny was a big fan of lifting up horse legs. And there's one more trick, in confidently scurrying underneath a horse for some reason. Yes, and the great Lenny was also a big fan of going underneath horses. Okay, that sounded wrong. As you can see, the show was fucking boring. But what really got my attention was halfway through the episode, they roll out Lenny's sister. Christ, someone get her an outdoor heater! Her old bones are becoming frozen! The host asked Lenny's sister how he was able to do this great feat. And I gotta be honest, the answer's a little bit weird. She explains in a voice that sounds like she's doing an impersonation of RFK Jr. that Lenny was able to do this because of his heritage. It gave him some kind of strength.
If you knew the full story of his heritage, you would understand why he was able to do it. His maternal ancestors were Lutherans, and they were actually kicked out of Germany.
Oh, wow.
And that's how they came to Adelaide.
You see, Lenny was infused with powerful Lutheran blood and genetics. At the age of 8, he could take down a moderately sized horse with his bare hands. Unlike my neighbor Jimmy, who has weak genes, poor blood and heritage, he shall be eradicated from the gene pool. Yeah, okay, there's a number of things that are wrong about what just happened. Okay, let's just firstly start with the hilarious morbid awkwardness of a white Australian describing how her ancestors were kicked out of a country to an Indigenous Australian who's probably thinking right now, oh yeah, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I wonder what it's like when someone takes over your home. And please tell me more about how your white ancestors coming over to Australia imbued them with strength. You know, and secondly, I knew from the title that the premise of this show would be a little bit off, but I didn't think they'd just come out and say it. I get that family culture could pass down ethics and behaviors down the family tree, but what they're trying to say makes no sense. Like, let's look at it like this, okay? Lenny has the blood of exiled Lutherans, which gave him the power to horseback ride from Melbourne to Sydney and Sydney to Melbourne at the age of 9 years old. Which would mean the great-grandchildren of Lenny could do the exact same task because they have the same blood as Lenny. But at the end of the episode, they have these children going like, oh yeah, we couldn't do it. Yeah, no, we really do appreciate how tough our ancestors had it. But it's the same. They have ancestors too. Like, we probably all have the same common ancestor, like all the same common ancestor. And I get that these aren't the great-grandchildren of Lenny himself, and they probably don't have the powerful Lenny gene. But if you look through these little crackers' family history, I'm sure there's something just as equally tough. Like, are you only as tough as your ancestor? Can you exceed their power at some point? And like I said, we probably all had the same ancestor going back far enough, so when did the Lenny gene kick in? Was it when the Lutherans were exiled? Is that when that family line got infused with power? Or was it further back from then?
You did a really good job. I couldn't have done it.
What do you mean you couldn't do it? You have the same heritage as Lenny? You have the same Lutheran blood? Like on the surface, this show has an adequate premise. You know, you find amazing feats that children did back in the day. And you see if a modern child could do the same thing. But when you start thinking about the angle of this show, what they're trying to say, trying to make it a competition between modern day child and Victorian era child, the stranger it gets. I don't even know why they have to even compare it to ancestors. There's plenty of modern day examples of tough situations, like new show idea, are you tougher than a third world child in a sweatshop? Ow, the needles are hurting my hand. Are they trying to make kids who watch this TV show appreciate the time that they're in a little bit more? Or are they trying to make them feel more inferior to the older generations? Or are they trying to make them go, hey, I have the same ancestors, I can do the same feats as them, but today? I don't understand. There's so many conflicting messages in this show. If they spent less time lifting up horse legs and more time thinking about what they wanted to convey to the children out there, maybe they wouldn't have been cancelled in 10 episodes. I guess we found out that this show is definitely not tougher than its ancestors.
Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool.
Sweet.